Hello, welcome to the Villa View Luke Live Lounge with myself, Dan Bardell, and as ever, Tom Julian with a snappy haircut joining me for the occasion as well. Tom, good haircut to be fair, looking a bit like Clark Kent.
I just need to rip off the glasses, burst through here, and I'm ready to go.
Get a six-pack.
I would say I'm more Stephen Island than Clark Kent. You remember his Superman pants?
Oh yeah, I remember.
I ventured to the barbers yesterday, first time since moving to Germany. Found a very nice barbers. It was almost like a disco, like a club. They were serving drinks. There was a tattoo parlor going on. I felt very out of my depth. I was
going to say it's very un-Tom Julian like that place sounds. It sounds quite cool. It doesn't sound like the place for you.
That was really cool, and so it was one of the only ones that I found that spoke that had an English website. So I was like, okay, this will be all right. But then I was expecting it to be super expensive, and like all the barbers had fancy long beards and flicked back hair and stuff like this. And I was like, I'm in trouble here. But I'll just pay whatever and then work out. €23.
Excellent. So, good haircut chat. It went on for a lot longer than I thought it would. That
I thought I had to justify it, but yeah. Welcome to the Luke Live Lounge in association with Luke Roper. Dan, good to be chatting with you. Not so good to be chatting about Villa. Perhaps that's why we spent so long on hair. But this is an opportunity for guys watching to get your thoughts in. We'll answer some questions. We'll go through all things Villa because there's quite a lot of news off the pitch, and we'll obviously touch on everything going on the pitch as well. Dan, have you got over the Wolves result yet?
I mean, over the years, you obviously get used to being disappointed by the football club. That's been quite a long-running relationship in my life, and I've become used to disappointment. But I think it's more not so much the Wolves game. It's when you merge all the four games into one. I think that's where the disappointment is coming from for most people. Because if you'd have said that we weren't going to win any of the first four games, I think alarm bells would have rang before the football's come back, and alarm bells are ringing, and the next couple of games look pretty tough. I'm going to watch Man U with interest later. We've got them coming up, and obviously a trip to Anfield on Sunday is very, very concerning, even though they've won the league. So yeah, it's just the four rolled into one, I think, but I'm disappointed with. But at some point, hopefully we have to win, and something has to change, because it's going to get pretty repetitive coming on here talking otherwise.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, has the confidence in your own heart lifted at all?
I had a brief perk up on Sunday. I think it was very, very short-lived. I hate coming on these things and being negative. There is nothing I dislike more than coming on a podcast or coming on a video like this and just talking negatively about my football club. It's not what I've been about for 3-4 years, and it's not what I want to be about. But you can only talk about what you're seeing, and as I said on Sunday, I think the whole football situation with not being there, the games all feel a bit flat. I found the other games equally as boring as our games, but obviously our games are different because I want us to win, and there's something riding on it for me personally. But I'm just a bit out of love with football in general at the moment, and Villa's performances aren't helping.
No, absolutely not. Seeing the comments coming in. Luke Reed is with us. All right, lads. Chris Coleman, Matty Morale says nice trim. So people are noticing the change. Josh,
I mean, we did speak about it for 10 minutes, so that couldn't help but notice it. Could that?
It's true. Josh says didn't get to ask last week. Villa have released. Thoughts on this? I think there's a key word missing there. Maybe we can catch up with that sometime later. But make sure you get your questions in your comments, and we'll be going through them all. As ever on the Luke Live Lounge, we've also got a part of the Dapper Villain range from Luke Roper, so we'll give that away a little bit later on. But Dan, my thoughts first off are on the pitch and what we're doing on the pitch and how we can get out of this kind of slump, if you like. One of the players that a lot of us thought about earlier on in the season, the guy that would come back and hopefully resurrect our kind of bid to stay up, was John McGinn. Now, he obviously had a long time out, and I guess it's not so surprising that he was a little bit slow off the mark, as was everyone else. He was left out of the starting lineup against Wolves. Do you think that's just so that he's ready and fit for the Liverpool game? Because now we've got a week's break. It seems like a strange time for him to have taken a break. Do you know?
Yeah, the trouble is the only way he's going to get fit is by playing 90 minutes. That's the only way you're going to get John McGinn fit again. I think we can all probably agree that he hasn't had the impact that we'd hoped. I think it's a massive ask to ask him to come in straight away and hit the ground running. I don't think that was ever going to happen, but we just hoped that because he's quite a naturally fit player in the way he plays the game, that he might come back full tilt. But actually, when you think about how he plays the game, again, it's very difficult for someone to just come back and play the way he does and be at it straight away and be full tilt, because he's so unique. But it's annoying because the winnable games, the more winnable games have gone. So you kind of feel like you needed him at his best there. The next two, I can't see us getting anything anyway. So you may as well now give him 9 minutes and just get the fitness up, because in reality, has he been any worse than anyone else in the Villa shirt, with maybe the exception of Louise? Probably not.
And this is kind of my point. You know, you had 3 games in 7 or 8 days or so, and then you've got a 7-day break. So maybe it would have made more sense for McGinn to play, and then he's got this rest anyway, and hopefully that gives him enough time to get in. You know, it just seems like a bit of an odd one in my opinion on reflection.
Maybe they thought on Saturday that he might come on as an impact sub and completely change the game for us. I mean, you can see the game plan in every game for Villa is to keep it tight. I can't remember if he came on at 1-0 or 0-0. I got a feeling we were losing at the point he'd come on. So I think maybe having him fresh coming on, I think maybe they tried to use him as an impact sub, but it didn't work. And like everything we try at the moment, nothing really seems to be sticking or working, and we've got serious work to do all over the pitch.
Yeah, Rich Pierce says super John McGinn. Matty Morale says McGinn needs his energy, otherwise he's not the same player. That's what he bases his game on. To me, he was really the kind of what I was praying for, a kickstart. You know, even before coronavirus ruined the season a little bit. You know, I felt like we had a couple of rolls of the dice left. The League Cup to be a kicker, which didn't happen, and then John McGinn's return to be that secondary boost, and we just haven't seen either of those happen yet. If you, based on the games that we've already seen and the impact performance, or the performances, I should say, maybe not impact, but from the performances that we've seen, who are you looking at that could potentially be a game changer still and help us nick a result?
I mean, it's completely up in the air, to be honest, Tom. It literally could be anyone. At the moment, we need to get Jack more involved. He's the talisman. He's the game changer, but he's not. He's on the periphery at the moment. I think some of the comments I've seen about him are atrocious, really, really harsh. I think he's getting a lot of stick, and I really think that's unfair. He's carried us for the majority of the season. The way we're playing at the moment just simply doesn't suit Jack Grealish, and it's very difficult for him to get involved in the games. He isn't going to pick up the ball on the edge of his penalty area and run the whole length of the pitch and score or get an assist. It's just not going to happen, and the way we're playing at the moment isn't set up to benefit Jack Grealish. So I think that needs to change. But from what I hear within the club, everyone seems quite unnerved and unmoved, and he's talking like everyone is together, resolute, believes that we're going to stay up. But at times it's not replicated on the pitch. On Saturday, sorry, it's a derby game. I don't remember anyone putting in a big tackle, and part of that is to do with the crowd not being ferocious and not being there. But you know what I mean? It's not a massive derby, but it's a grudge match. It's a rival, and I don't remember seeing anyone putting a tackle really from either side. But Wolves at the moment, they've got that quality that can go and win a game, and from what we've shown in the first 4, we don't look like we've got that quality at the moment. We're absolutely crying out for a goal scorer. A game changer would be to have a goal scorer, but we just haven't got one at the football club, it seems.
Mike Pearson from Texas, who we had on in our last post-match pint, he put out a tweet today reckoning that we could still pick up 9 points. Arsenal, Crystal Palace and West Ham being the ones that he was looking at. I mean, I sent him a message saying I think that's miraculous, to be honest. And if we were to get 6 or 7, particularly against West Ham, you look at, you know, if you can take points off West Ham, that really is the magic one. It's just so that it's the last day of the season. How does that sit for you? 9 points, it's very ambitious.
I mean, he's obviously having a lovely time in Texas. Isn't he, Mike? It must be a very positive place, Texas, because he comes on and he's full of optimism. I get his point that there are some games that you look at and think, okay, we can win that, but just with the landscape of things at the moment, until we do win a game, you look at them all and just think, well, we ain't going to get anything there, and that's just the reality. The next two are killer. We could have done without Liverpool and Man U in a row. Man U've still got something to play for. Liverpool are the best side on the planet, really, at the moment. Man U look good whenever I watch them as well. They suddenly look like they've sorted themselves out. Whereas if we'd have played them earlier on in the season at Villa Park, they went through some bad times, didn't they? But they look like they've got it together now, that they've got a bond and got a belief, and they know what they're doing. Every game is hard, but there are games that we can win there. You look at Arsenal, you look at Palace at home. They're two home games that you think, come on, if ever we're going to get some points, it's going to be them. But because Arsenal can be a mess. Palace obviously lost to Burnley last night, but the two at the end, that could be key, to be honest. I'm looking at them fixtures up on the screen now. Arsenal at home, West Ham away. They're two where you could see us get points. We get these next two out of the way, I'll probably feel a little bit better, because I do look at all four of those games, in fact, and think maybe we can get something. But if we lose the next two, depending on what other teams do, it could be really out of our hands. And at the moment, you still kind of feel like it is in our hands a little bit, but that can all change very quickly with a couple of defeats. But we're lucky that it's still in our hands now, to be honest.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I kind of forget about the Everton game, because you look at Palace and you look at Everton, who are both kind of safe and potentially on the beach when it comes to us. Arsenal will probably be in a similar place in that respect as well. I'm getting the Mike Pearson jitters here.
Don't do it, Tom.
I swear, every time we do something like this and I see the fans messaging on here and we get to chat about it, I do, that does rise in me, and it's not.
Then the game happens.
Yeah, it's definitely not coming up here. It's definitely in there. I see Mark Jerobi says, ha 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 ha, 9 points. I'm messaging him now, the positive Pete. Ben Reed, never seen such a poor bottom half in the Prem. No one wants to stay up, which again is true. Like you said earlier, the fact that we're still in it is a bit of a marvel, really. Ultimately, it still comes down to Villa. You know, at some point we need to pull out the performance, because we can't keep relying. You know, if we don't get any points, we'll go down. And so we absolutely need to grab the ball by the horns. Richard Sutherland says, any points predictions at all over the next two games? So Liverpool, Manchester United. Do you see us getting anything?
Just because I don't want to come on and say zero. I'll say a draw. I'll say a draw against Man U.
Right.
But that is more in hope than expectation. The annoying thing is that I don't even think it's a massively strong Premier League this year. The fact that we're still involved in the relegation scrap and have got a chance of getting out of it tells you that it's not a strong Premier League. But you know what I mean? Burnley are sitting in 8th, and you watch them and you think, yes, Sean Dyche is a good manager. They've got a plan. They know what they're doing. But the reality is they're not a great side, are they? But they are 8th in the Premier League. I'd absolutely go wild for a chance of being 8th in the Premier League nowadays, but we're just so, I don't know, we just haven't got it right all season. We haven't found a balance all season. We're either one way or the other in terms of too defensive or too attacking. We don't seem to have found that neutral ground at the moment, and that's what we're going to have to find if we're going to get out of it. But time's running out.
Yeah, for sure. King81 says optimism is close to delusional. I mean, absolutely no arguments there from me. And then Uncle Ken he disagrees a little bit with me. This is the Premier League. No one should be on the beach before the season is over. We can't rely on other teams not turning up. I totally agree with that. But I don't think there's any doubt that you see teams who are kind of 12th or 10th to kind of 14th, you know. They're already looking at their summer holidays, particularly this year, I think, which has been such a weird year, and they have such a short time off that I think it's normal psychology that they would do it. I'm not saying that you should do it, but I think they will.
No, I think Everton and Arsenal, I think it's valid because they're two teams that have changed manager part of the way through the season and got Ancelotti and Arteta in, and there'll be players that are playing in their first 11s at the moment that will know they're probably not going to be there next season. Are they going to want to risk getting hurt and ruin that move? Do you know what I mean? Because there's going to be rebuilds at both those clubs. So there is going to be players playing whose heart's probably not in it, who know that they're not going to be there much longer. I mean, this is grasping at straws. Don't get me wrong. Give me the closest cup of straws, because I am absolutely grasping it. But do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That those games become a little bit more winnable because of that. So I get the saying on the beach, some people don't like it, but there are factors at play that I think will make those games a little bit easier for us. But it's whether we can take advantage of it.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, I've again, this is all speculation, but I've also heard that Liverpool are going to field players to try and make sure they get enough games in to get a winner's medal, that kind of thing. You know, again, pass me the cup of straws now, because that's what we're looking at here. And you know, you've got to look at every advantage. But I totally agree with the comments that are coming in. It starts with your own team. It starts in your own changing room. Villa have to be up for it. They have to be ready for the best possible Liverpool, the best possible Manchester United. Problem is, we just haven't seen that yet. So,
I mean, in reality, even a second string Liverpool, I'm not including them playing the kids, because obviously we've beat them. But you know what I mean? A second string Liverpool is still pretty strong. Players like Origi, Lallana, who the players that will need to play to get their games up, they walk into the Aston Villa team. So a couple of changes, 2-3 changes for Liverpool, it doesn't make the game any easier, in my opinion. Because again, those players have got something to prove, because they'll want to stay at Liverpool and be at Liverpool long term, and that they've got things to prove. So it's difficult. The Liverpool game, I'm writing that off. That is. I'd rather just not. I might not even watch it, because I just think we aren't going to lose, and it's going to annoy me. Sorry, we aren't going to win, and it's going to annoy me. I will watch it, obviously.
That will make the post-match pints a bit tough if you don't even bother watching it.
I'll make it a bit more bearable for me.
That's true. We should mention this one. Tom plays. If we get a point in our next 2 games, I will run naked through my town. I think we need to take a screenshot of that and hold Tom plays to account on that.
Yeah, be careful where you're taking a screenshot of.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true too. Hip to the Game has just reminded me of something that I saw this week. He says, sorry lads, just tuned in. What are your thoughts on Collymore saying we should bring in a top manager at this stage? Now, before we answer that question, Stan Collymore unblocked me this week. I don't know if he just had a massive clear out of people that he was blocking, whether he's feeling charitable or not, but he's unblocked me. I don't know if anybody else in the comments has experienced this. I imagine many of you will have.
There's a lot blocked by you.
Exactly. So if anyone else has experienced this enjoyment, then please let us know. Honestly, I'm thinking about blocking him though, because some of his opinions are absolute trash.
Why did you get blocked by him? Well, probably because you think his opinions are trash. Did you tell him that?
Yeah, I did at one point. It really annoyed me when we were close to going bankrupt, and he was talking about how the fans should rise up and buy the club, and if we all put a tenner in, then we'd buy the club and it'll all be fine. And like, I was in a really frustrated place anyway with Villa, and his ideas were just loony. And so I kind of tweeted him back a couple of times and just said how deluded he was and all this kind of stuff, and he blocked me. So I mean, fair enough. I'd do the same.
What did he actually say? I've got to be honest, I actually quite like him, but is he saying we should bring a top manager in now, or is he saying in the summer? What's he saying? What's the context there?
Hip to the Game, correct me if I'm wrong, because I haven't seen the story either, but from Hip to the Game's point, it sounds like we now need to bring in a new manager.
If it's a top manager, I mean, you're not going to get anyone good in now. I don't want Dean Smith to get the sack personally. Anyway, I think he's been dealt a really bad hand this season, and still I have a lot of goodwill from what he's done since he's been at the club. But you're not going to get anyone of any substance in at this point. I mean, some of the stuff you say on social media, get rid of Smith now and get in Pochettino. You're absolutely joking, mate. I mean, as if people think that that's actually going to happen. It's not going to happen. That stuff like that doesn't happen with 6 games left in the season for a team that's staring into the abyss. You've got to be realistic. I'm not convinced anyone could come in now and do a better job and save us. The board are behind Dean Smith. They like what he's implemented in this time off. Fair enough, what we've seen hasn't been an implementation of anything that's gone well, but that's what we hear, and I wouldn't get rid of him. For me, if we do go down, he's well placed to get us back up. He's proved he's got a promotion on his CV. If you go down, you're just going to end up trying to get in someone with a similar record and reputation to Dean Smith. If we do stay up, will they review it in the summer? I don't know. I'm really, really not sure. I think Dean's probably found this season a lot harder than he thought we would do. I think the whole club has probably found this season a lot harder than they thought they would do. When you look back in some of the quotes in the summer from Purslow, it's just a world away from what has actually materialised. If you go back and look at what he said, and I think it's probably quite telling that we haven't heard from him much in the current time, but we'll just have to see what happens. But getting a new manager now for me is a no-no, and it won't happen anyway. And as for getting a top manager in, that's definitely not happening.
I think that's quite a common thing that you wouldn't hear from a CEO or something right now. I don't think that's a surprise. I think everybody kind of struggling, unless you've got like a loud owner like West Ham do. Then you're probably not going to hear much from anybody.
It's quite vocal, Burslow, in general.
But what I mean is, in this situation, I think generally communications lock up quite a lot, and they don't do too much, and they just wait. Hopefully, not hope really that the results ride out at this stage. What I really like about this show, Dan, is that we get completely different views here, and talking about relegation and whether we should get a new manager in. You've got four completely different points here, where it's like, Charlie Cox, do you think we stay up? Because honestly, I do. Daniel Hughes, I love Smith, I really do, but he has to go if we want to stay up this season. Danielle Harper, too late. No manager will get us out of. It will get us enough points this season. And Mark Jarobi, who's coming to Villa right now, like you say, the top manager, and he says someone like Simon Grayson. Is that the best that you can get at this stage? You know what I mean? That's his kind of point.
People look at Allardyce, don't they? But he ain't going to come in and get a relegation on his CV with 6 games left. If they were gonna change it, there's been 2 or 3 not ideal opportunities, but you know what I mean. There's been 2 or 3 better places to do it than it would be to do it now. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Smith till the end of the season. We've got to get behind him. I'm behind him anyway. As I say, I really think his hands have been tied, and I think he's been badly let down in a lot of respects. So we've got to just, as much as I'm being negative, we have to get behind them, and we have to just hope now that we can just finish at 17th and just get this season over and done with, because it does feel like it's gone on forever now.
Yeah. You are watching the Luke Live Lounge. Thank you so much for joining us. I think we're live on YouTube and on Facebook. Sponsored by Luke1977.com. Make sure if you're buying any Luke Roper gear, you use the Villa View discount code. So what is it? TVV20 will get you 20% off almost all items. There it is down in the bottom there. Gets you 20% off almost everything. The only thing that's not included is the Dapper Villain range, and that's because 30% of proceeds already go to the Birmingham University Hospitals charity. So well worth buying some of that stuff and doing good for charities as well. I saw a comment from Adam Wright quite a while ago, Dan. One of the last positions really that I think is up for grabs is the goalkeeper. What do you think about Newland's performances since the restart, and do you think there's any chance that we see Rayner or indeed Steer before the end of the season?
I don't think you'll see Jed Steer again this season. It's been too long for him without playing time. Now, I think if they were going to get him involved, they probably would have done it by now, but then you don't know what's going on behind closed doors. I don't know whether there is behind closed doors games at Bodymoor Heath for players that are on the fringes. Really difficult for me to say. That I was obviously very vocal the first time we did this, that I wanted to see Newland given a chance. He'd be my pick. Unfortunately, he has regressed a little bit back to the goalkeeper of last season rather than the one that we've seen in the cup run, which is disappointing. I mean, I don't know, somewhere the pressure seems to have got to him a little bit. You kind of feel that mistake against Sheffield United, even though it went unpunished, it's given him the jitters a little bit, because he was one of those ones that I thought might benefit from no crowd a little bit. It now wouldn't surprise me to see Rayner come in at Anfield on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me to see him lining up between the sticks. But then you forget the 2 games before the break, Rayner was having a nightmare as well. So unless he's got that out of his system as well, he wasn't looking too clever between the sticks either. We just had a nightmare with goalkeepers in general this season. We've used 4, is it, that we've used this season? It was 5 the season before. We just never seem to have a consistent number 1 at the club. I mean, it's unfortunate Heaton got injured. Obviously, he's a massive part of the dressing room. He's a big leader at the club. That's what he was brought in to do in the summer. And from that respect, I suppose Rayner's the natural replacement to maybe just give us a bit of experience. But in all honesty, my predictions in the first show, I've got no idea who's going to go.
Chris Coleman says Pepe back in, please. Old Neeland has come back, and as you said, I think that's true, and it is weird because he did struggle a little bit in his first season with the pressure of the whole end, and just couldn't quite get his confidence there. What are you giggling at?
I'm just thinking, the trouble is with us as Villa fans and football fans in general, the more someone doesn't play, the better they become in your mind. So totally. Everyone's now saying, "Oh yeah, we need to get Reina back in." But before we kicked off again, everyone was saying, "Oh no, it better not be Reina. It better be Neeland." Or everyone wanted Neeland. It's just mad, isn't it? Probably after Sunday, everyone will be saying, "I want Jed Steering goal." Like it just changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, Anthony Harper says Reina's mistakes were nothing on Neeland's. He's been absolutely terrible. Craig Ashington, if only Sam Johnson. You think Neeland's really? The simple difference is when Reina made 2 mistakes, we got punished. Neeland's mistakes have gone unpunished so far. So from that point of view, they're not catastrophic, are they? Like Reina's were. Well, yeah, but that doesn't really justify the ends. Don't justify the means, there, do they?
No, but you know what I'm saying. You can't say they're worse mistakes because they haven't been punished.
Well, yeah, I get your point, but that doesn't mean that Neeland is still a better goalkeeper necessarily. He's still making those same errors. It's just Jota slams it over the bar, and Neeland's getting lucky.
I know.
Essentially.
I know. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Craig Ashington says if only Sam Johnson had held on for a couple more weeks. Do you think the season would be different if we'd kept hold of Sam Johnston? Do you think we'd be in a different place right now?
Nope.
Okay, good.
I mean, I like Sam Johnston, but you can't say he's a better goalkeeper than Tom Heaton, who was our goalkeeper for the first half of the season. Johnston would have loved to have stayed at Aston Villa. He loved it there, but I understand why he went to West Brom because he needed a move at the time, and Villa couldn't pay the electricity bill, so you can't blame him for not holding on, really, can you at all? He was a good keeper for us that season in the Championship, Johnston, but I don't think he's better than some of the keepers we've got at the club now.
Yeah. I just saw a really interesting comment, but because so many people are getting involved in the chat, I've lost it, which is annoying. Maybe it'll come back round again. One thing that we didn't get to, that we said at the top of the show, the lad, who was it, Josh, that missed out a key word. He was talking about Callum O'Hare and the other guys that are no longer going to be Villa players come next season. We didn't talk about it last week, I don't think, Dan. We've seen a lot of promising young players come through the youth ranks at Villa Park, and especially in the last few seasons, not really get their chance in the first team. Do you think? Do we still trust in the coaching staff at all age groups that they're not good enough, and that's why we're not seeing them progress into our top Championship sides and our Premier League sides, or are we missing a trick here? Do you think?
I think obviously the comments from Purslow earlier on in the season that if you're 19, 20 and you haven't played for the first team, then you're not going to make it. We want our under 23s to be full of youngsters, full of younger players. So I think that's just the avenue the club are going down at the moment. The club don't seem concerned by these players leaving. Even if we were to be in the Championship next season, it doesn't seem like they're concerned with the likes of Callum O'Hare. Villa have let. I mean, it's different personnel in the staff now. So I'm criticising the way Villa have treated youth players, but you got to remember it's completely different people that would have been at the club at the time. But do you know what I mean? Callum O'Hare, the season we nearly went up, he was kept around the place, didn't go on loan, looked quite promising, didn't really ever even get on the bench. It's just a complete waste of a year for the kid, and it's been that way with youth players for as long as I remember. A couple of the players that we've deemed not good enough have ended up at Leicester. You look at Mitch Clark and Johansson, the goalkeeper, they're on Leicester's books now, so they've got something about them. And I think Sarkic will end up going to a Premier League team as well. I think Villa have offered him a deal, but I think he'll end up going to another team because he's just frustrated with the way he's been treated over the years by Villa. And again, mainly that comes down to previous regimes because Steve Bruce kept people around the place in case of emergency. And I think you've got to look at the loan rules as well in the Championship. They're not great. They haven't helped the situation. But there's a lot of players over the years that have gone on and done okay that maybe could have done a job for Villa when we were in the Championship that we've ended up letting go. But I do kind of get it. The more I think about it, I do get why we've let these players go. But it's encouraging today to see a load of players sign professional terms. I'm not going to pretend that I know loads about them because I don't, but it's a good thing to see them on board, and hopefully those 17, 18-year-olds, they'll fill up the under-23s, and they'll be the ones that get a chance. There they are.
Yeah. So as if by magic, so seven of our youngsters have now been signed on professional deals. So congratulations to all of those guys. What an amazing feeling that must be, to sign your first deal. Hopefully we see them for the under-23s and hopefully for the first team at some point. And they will continue to grow and become like the next Jack Grealish, essentially. You know, that's what we're all looking for. We're looking for hometown heroes to really get behind. I mean, we want to get behind the whole team, but it's nice when you can see players that have come through. And I mean, we've seen it a lot in the women's team. I know they're two different things, but you can track some of the women's progress from being under 10s, under 12s in this system, and now playing for the first team, and hopefully we can see that replicated in the men's. And I felt a couple of years ago that we were quite close to that. It felt like there was a lot of optimism about that wave of young talent coming through, and it felt like every pre-season we talked about this will be the season for X, this will be the season for Y, and it just hasn't happened. I've got to take my time on this. Flobber dobber rubber dub. Disappointed O'Hare hasn't been offered a new deal. His main asset is his tireless work rate, which I feel can be utilised at any level of the league.
Maybe they're looking at Jacob Ramsey, who's 3-4 years younger. He's been doing well on loan. I think it was Doncaster. He's done well in the brief time he was there. Maybe they're just thinking, well, that's Callum O'Hare, 22, blocking the pathway for Jacob Ramsey, who we think is going to be a better player. So in some ways, I think you can justify it. But I think what you were saying before about, you want the homegrown players to come through. Andre Green's been on the periphery. You could maybe class him as having broken through, but I wouldn't say he's fully knocked down the doors as a first-team player over these. But since Jack, there has been no one. And that's not good. And before that, it was probably Gabby. Do you know what I mean? There hasn't been enough players making their way into the first team from the Villa Academy, and that is disappointing because I think it's something the Villa have prided themselves on over the year. You talk about being a family club and things like that. I want to see young talent coming through that academy and making their way into the first team, but you got to look at over the years as well. We've been a bit of a mess at times, so it hasn't been a good place for players to grow up, and I think we're hoping now that it is going to be a good place for players to grow up, even though it feels like we're in a bit of a mess as well at the moment. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk about one other big off the field issue is not the right word, kind of announcement, I guess, that the Villa have, for the first time in a fair few years, gone with a new sponsor that isn't a betting firm, Kazoo, one of the fastest growing British-based businesses in recent years. It's a car sharing app, a car pooling app kind of thing, and there you go, search, drive, smile.
Nice.
And for me, I think the initial reaction from this immediate Twitter social media culture that we live in at the moment is not to do any research about what it is, but just go, what is that? I've never heard of them. I saw a good tweet from Adam Gilks who said that's the reason people do branding and sponsorship, so that more people can hear about them. So to me, I was most excited to see that they hadn't gone with a betting sponsor, that the kids will be able to have Kazoo on their shirts, and it'll be more similar. What are your thoughts on having a young, British, exciting and very successful startup as the Villa sponsor?
I'd rather have a young, exciting first team, to be honest. But on the list of things I care about, this is probably somewhere near the bottom. I think it's good that we've gone away from the norm and that we haven't got a gambling company on the front of the shirt, because pretty much for the last decade that's all we've had, really, isn't it? But they seem to be the ones that pay the money. I've seen a few people saying it's tin pot and small time or whatever. Realistically, you don't know that, and at the end of the day, Everton have taken them on as well. They're a top 8 Premier League side. They've got the same shirt sponsor as us, so they must have something about them. I don't know the financials of the deal. No one knows the finances that are involved at all. So I think, as I say, on the list of things that I'm particularly bothered about at the moment, it isn't high up. But I think, again, it's the social media culture of, let's try and see if I can react badly to this and see if my tweet bangs, gets a few likes. It just boring, isn't it?
To say anybody that's sponsoring 2 Premier League clubs is tin pot and small time just seems absolutely delusional. We talked about delusion twice, and this really is it. If we were announced as the Villa sponsors, that's tin pot. That is very small time. A multi-million-pound company. I'd take that. If they offered me ownership of Kazoo, I'd probably take that small time deal.
I mean, I'm imagining they weren't the only people that wanted to sponsor the shirt, so we must have done okay out of it from that point of view. I mean, the one thing I do care about is that it's on the front of a Premier League shirt next season rather than a Championship side. But it just realistically, I don't really care. And over the years, the only sponsor I can think of that heavily got the fans involved was Unibet. I'd like to see a bit more of that kind of thing, if I'm being honest, because I think that they were really good with that when they were on the front of the shirt for a year. So it'd be good to have a company that want to lean on the fans and get the fans involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds good to me. Let's have a quick look at the table, because I don't think we've done that yet. If we can get that up, producer Adam. And I mean, we looked at it at the weekend, and it didn't make for pretty reading. The good thing is it hasn't changed too much, but obviously Bournemouth and West Ham still have a game to play around us. I still look at it and I still feel like there's some optimism to be had. And I know it's the Mike Pearson effect, but I just can't get out of my head that there's a chance we can nick a result. Probably not on Sunday, but in the next few games, there needs to be a lift. I think what it is the further I get away from actually watching the games is where my optimism goes up, and then it dives right back down once the first minute kicks off.
I mean, you look at it isn't impossible, is it? It's actually, if you look at it, you have a decent chance on the surface. It's just that they've given us nothing in the first 4 games to really get excited about, or to give us a reason to believe. But there's every chance we do a show at the end of the season and we're staying up, and we're talking about staying up, but we have to do something imminently, because the games will run out. The other teams aren't going to all just keep losing. We need to win a game.
If you had to predict the 3 that go down right now, who would you go for?
Norwich, Bournemouth, and Watford.
Really? You've changed your mind on Watford? Because I think earlier in the season you were like, when they brought in the new man, they were you kind of thought that they were playing below themselves, and the new manager would sort them out.
They looked quite erratic from what I saw in the game on Sunday. Southampton did them 3-1, didn't they? As Danny Ings is doing more than anyone to keep Aston Villa in the Premier League.
Yeah.
At the moment, Danny Ings wants it, so we just need our players to want it as well. We need what I'd do for Danny Ings up front, by the way, just absolutely on fire, playing on top of his game at the moment. And that is the big thing that we don't have. We do not have a goal scorer at the football club.
No, you can't find one for love nor money. Danny Ings is crazy, isn't he? And Southampton generally, this season has been absolutely mad for them, having been tonked 9-0. Was it 9-0? And then
9-1.
And then I felt like my mum and my sister were at that game, and I feel like
really?
Yeah. They you lose like that, and then they went on a mad winning run after that, and sorted themselves out. And now Hassan Hotel has got himself a new deal. The ownership, I think, has slightly changed there, but they seem to be a really stable club. Pete Powell took 6 points off Villa. And totally deserved it. Villa were absolutely.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, it's true.
Most teams have.
But yeah, just an amazing job done by Southampton. I pegged them for relegation. I didn't see that coming at all. So fair play to them.
Yeah. When you're losing a game 9, you think, alarm bells. They're in massive trouble there, but they've completely turned it around. And fair play to them. They've got quite a settled team. Everyone knows their job there. They've done much. He's a good manager. He turned them around last season when he came in, and considering they got off to a horror start, he's done well to get them up and away from danger.
Yeah. I just realised what the question was that I had seen and wanted to say about 15 minutes ago. So it's not completely relevant right now, but I'm going to chuck it in anyway.
It's a good one.
Manchester City have possibly getting rid of Sane for 54 million, and so a few people are kind of making the connection. Does maybe there's a bit of a bidding war or an interest in Jack Grealish there? Do you see a Manchester kind of rivalry for Grealish's services next year?
First off, how many pacey wingers do Bayern Munich need? Coman, Sane, are they not good enough already? They win the league every season, don't they? In the Bundesliga, I still think he'll go to Man U personally. That's what I think will happen. It'd be interesting to see him work under Pep if I was a neutral, but obviously it's going to be horrible watching him play for anyone else. Anyway, but we've done it to death, haven't we? About Grealish going, he'll go somewhere because he's too good for Aston Villa, and we're light years off what he needs at the moment. So I don't know. My gut tells me he'll go to Man U if I'm being honest. But it'd be interesting to see what did happen if City entered the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else, Dan? We've done about 40 or so minutes, and I want to make sure we've got enough time to give some stuff away. But anything else pressing at the club that you want to talk about before we sign off?
No, I mean I'm losing light in the lounge. I should have put the light on before we started. I could do with this finishing soon, otherwise no one's going to be able to see me.
Put some more money in the meter. All right. Well, we are sponsored by Luke 1977, and we're massively appreciative of that. And as part of that, we get to give away a part of the Dapper Villain range every single week, which is lovely. Last week we gave away the It Must Be polo shirt. We didn't give it away last week. We started a competition for it. We're going to give it away right now. We did the draw for the winner earlier, and the winner of the It Must Be polo shirt is Rob Aston. So Rob, if you're watching, DM us with your size and the choice of colour. I think it's either a kind of gold like you're wearing, Dan, or a claret, I think. So yeah, DM us, or if you don't get in touch, we'll get in touch with you. We'll get that sorted one way or the other. And this week we are giving away the Cropley. So it's a long sleeved jumper, black torso. There it is. Better to be shown than me to try and describe it to you. So if you want to be in with a chance of winning that, we're gonna do an Instagram competition again this week. So all you need to do is we'll put a post out there. All you need to do is make sure you're following the Villa View and Luke 1977 and leave a comment underneath that post. That will go up straight after this show, and then we'll draw the winner next week as always. Make sure you use TVV20 for 20% off almost everything at the Luke Roper collection, and obviously if you're purchasing anything from the Dapper Villain range, 30% goes to the Birmingham University Hospitals Trust, and that's a noble cause. So that's the only thing our discount doesn't work. I believe, Dan, it works on sale items as well, so if they're having a sale, you can get additional money off those as well.
I'm glad you came to me to ask me that to that question. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I'm almost 100% sure. Yeah, they do. Sale.
Did you want to say anything else?
No, I'm fine, mate. You crack on.
Good.
Crack on. You do a good job at describing all that. I'd go to pieces if I had to do that.
Well, that's what I thought. I was going to say, and Dan, the winner is, and then I imagine the shock of your face.
I mean, his surname was quite easy to remember with it being Aston, so I would have remembered that and have been okay at that part.
Fair enough. The
socials.
Make sure also, as well as entering that competition, because it's a nice bit of gear, that you follow us on all the different social platforms. Now I am going to struggle. The Villa Twitter is at the VillaView _. Instagram is at VillaView. Yeah, good.
Yeah,
and we're on Facebook as well. This is beaming to Facebook, and we're trying to be a bit more active as well on Facebook. So make sure you drop us a like on there as well. I think that is about it. Make sure you enter the competition. Make sure you're following us and Luke. We're going to be back on Sunday for the Liverpool game. Straight after the Liverpool game, we'll be doing a post-match pint in association with Purity Ale. So join us there. We're also going to be looking for new people to get on, come and chat with us. So if you do fancy that, get in touch. I think our DMs are open, and we can get you on. And hopefully we'll be talking about a win, Dan.
I wouldn't bank on it, Tom.
All right, on that uplifting note, let's sign off for another week. Lovely to speak to you. Thank you for all your comments. Dan, take care, and up the Villa.
And you.